So we're here for a scheduling order, and I think we're about 13 months from the arraignment, and I think at this point, this is my opinion, that we're getting to a point of diminishing returns, and I sent to council last Friday on a proposed scheduling order for a lot of things, deadlines, including setting the trial.
Man, he already getting on my nerve, man. I started calling Bill. Judge, you already getting on my nerve, bro. Like, you talk worse than me. What's up with you, fam? Innocent until. It's been a while. So I'm watching this, man, just the first few minutes of it. I actually didn't even get this far into it the first time I watched it because I was watching Bryan body language, things like that. Not just Bryan. When I say I was watching Bryan, but I was also watching everybody else that I could see body language. I noticed Ann smile. I noticed Bryan shift when the judge called his name, man. I've been paying attention. When I originally started following this case, I told you guys, man, I'm just gonna be in and out, until the trial comes because I don't want to get caught up in the hoopla. And then I did the exact opposite. I got caught up in the hoopla and I was making videos all the time. And, I just wasn't feeling it. Even the energy around the case, all the gossip, all the backbiting, all the vitriol, all the just foolishness, man. We're adults. I'm an adult. I don't really engage in that. I don't think I ever did. I put people in their place. I'm not saying I was right all the time, but I just don't do the gospel and I never engaged in it. So I took a break and I'm back. I've heard, a couple of the rumors. I haven't watched any of those hearings. I just jumped back in the, hey, I'm waiting until the trial board. But I've seen somebody said they wrote a book. Isn't this like the second one? And just a bunch of other foolishness that as soon as it came across my feed, I just kept scrolling to ASAP. But I do want to watch this hearing. I'm not, blind to the fact that most of you have already watched it, but I want to watch it. You know what I mean? It's 13 minutes. That's acceptable. And then, probably share my thoughts on the back end. My initial thoughts is, man, what the hell is wrong with Judge, man? Was he always that stuttery? Or did this just happen? Like I said, bro, you sound worse than me. Let's see what the rest of these, 11, 12 minutes, 10, 11 minutes gonna bring us, y'all. How y'all doing, man? I'm happy to be back.
And so I set this hearing so that we can discuss this and see kind of where everybody is. So let me start with the state. Thanks.
Thank you, Your Honor. We've reviewed the court's proposed scheduling order with the attorney team, and we are agreeable to it. It makes sense that we do the trial in the summertime when high school is out across the street and when the university is out and the conflicting activities. And the schedule that Your Honor proposes is acceptable to the state. I would note just a minor detail that June 19th is also a legal holiday. The court specified July 4th as a legal holiday. We wouldn't be able to hold trial, but
Sure.
19th as well. Other than that, we have no objection to the court's proposal.
All right. Thank you. I mean, as I went through all of this, I mean, there's going to be a lot of motions, a lot of hearings, a lot of work. There already has been a significant amount of work, as we all know. And when I tried to balance this out, I do think it's pretty fair, balanced, and I hope realistic. So, Ms. Taylor.
Thank you, Judge. Your Honor, first, I know the court has listed this as taking place in Latah County. We haven't been heard on our change of venue yet. That's to come.
Totally understand that.
So I don't want anybody thinking I'm agreeing to Latah County is all. The June of 2025, that's the time frame that we have been working towards. I am hopeful that we can come in there. We're working towards that date. I think it's reasonable to set that date. As the court's aware, mitigation is something that takes a significant amount of time. We've had that underway since the day we took this case. We continue to work that very hard. I spoke with our mitigation expert last night about this date. And there's a lot of work yet to be done, but we're still working towards that. So I think it's reasonable to set that. I just want the court to know that that's not finished at this point. That's very much ongoing and new things are coming out that we need to follow up. But with that said, I think it's reasonable to go ahead and pick the June of 2025 as a trial date at this time.
And by the way, just, I mean, I think you understand that, all council understand that, but this is a 3-month trial. So I was calculating 2 weeks to set the jury, then 8 weeks of trial, and then 2 weeks for mitigation and sentencing. And I mean, that's a guess, but I think it's enough time for all of those things to take care of. And obviously, the last 2 weeks would only be if Mr. Kohberger was convicted. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. I do want to bring up a couple of issues I have with some of the deadlines. I looked this over. Our team has talked about it. I've gone over this with Mr. Kohberger. I do have a couple of concerns about the deadlines, and I'll just bring those up to the court for the court's consideration. As far as motions challenging the death penalty, and that's in right under motion practice letter A that the court has on its draft, we can have a lot of those filed by September 5th. I would note for the court that that's ahead of the state's final discovery date, and that's ahead of the state's deadline to produce its aggravation case that it will use. We can meet this September 5th deadline, but we're going to ask the court to give us a little leeway when there's something new that comes our way. If there's an amendment to a motion or a new motion that becomes relevant based on something new, with like a 2-week window after receiving something new to file that. But the bulk of it we can get in by the deadline that the court has asked here, and that's just not a problem.
Sure, I understand that. I mean, I looked at that. I wanted to have that early because, you know, it's a bigger question.
Yeah.
And I was aware of the Ross case. I think you had 16 motions in that case. So I wanted to sort of address those issues early.
Your Honor, we can definitely do that. We can address a lot of things early. We just don't want to be precluded from bringing an amended motion or a new motion if something new is filed that would have been relevant to something we've already filed.
I'm not going to prevent you from doing that.
Perfect, thank you.
And by the way, a lot of these deadlines, I mean, you can certainly do them earlier if you'd like to. I would encourage everybody to do that. Thank you.
Your Honor, then moving on, the motions in limine under letter C, the court has suggested February 13th as the date for that. I think in large part we can do some by then, but the exhibits that we'll exchange and witness lists that we'll exchange aren't due until after that. And again, I think there might be additional motions that would be relevant after those things have been exchanged. So if the court wanted to move the whole deadline so we had all of those motions in limine at once, I think that would be reasonable. But if the court wants to keep this deadline, as long as we have the ability to bring more motions in limine based on new filings, we'll be okay with that as well.
Sure. And I was also thinking about, you know, I guess experts, for example, I mean, they may have longer hearings that, you know, we're going to have to work through all of these things. I mean, this is just a structure.
Thank you. The court had listed March 14th as a trial brief date, and that is ahead of some of the other deadlines, recognizing that the trial is the innocence phase and the sentencing phase, if it happens, is the mitigation and aggravation. I would just say this is a fine deadline, but we won't be touching anything to do with our mitigation by then, if that's what the court anticipated.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
I think yeah, when we had March 3rd for mitigation, I figured by then you would pretty much have that in hand.
We hope to. That brings me to the last point I wanted to talk about. The court has proposed setting a mutual exchange of aggravation and mitigation materials, and I'd ask the court to reconsider that. We will aim for our March 3rd deadline. That's our plan right now. If something changes that, then we'll come back and let the court know and talk to counsel. But would ask that the state's aggravation package be provided to us earlier than the same day as our mitigation. Should we get to that point, the state has the burden of establishing the statutory aggravators. There are some things I think I might be able to guess about how the state's going to try to present information, but I don't think I should have to guess. I think I should have that information well ahead of providing the mitigation that will be presented in response to any aggravating information that's presented by the state. So I'd ask the court to set the date for the state to produce its information much earlier than ours. The state filed its notice a year ago yesterday, and I have a lot of questions about what the state would intend to use to try to establish many of the statutory aggravators they've listed. I know I've heard the court talk about super due process in a capital case, and I think it's appropriate for us to be on notice and be provided discovery, to be provided a full range of what the state intends to use to establish those if we ever get to that point. And I think we need those ahead of our deadline for mitigation. So I'd ask the court to move that deadline up quite a bit earlier. And that's it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Thompson, do you have any issues about having the aggravation in advance for a period of time?
No, sir, as long as we will have the option, the ability to supplement that once we see whatever the defense plans to offer in the way of mitigation.
Well, I'm appreciating that, with these deadlines, that we're going to have supplement all the way along. I just don't want to be scrambling around a month before the trial. We're all going to be very, very busy. And the more we can resolve certain motions, supplements, whatever we need to do, I'm trying to do this sooner than later.
Yes, sir. And that's our preference as well.
And Ms. Taylor as well.
Yes, Your Honor.
Just to make sure, though, you have to do your job, and the state has to do its job, and I have to do my job. But I think this is a great step, okay, to set these deadlines and hearings so that we can move through this. It's going to take a while, but anything else we need to address today, Mr. Thompson?
I don't believe so. Thank you.
Ms. Taylor?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, well, it's very short, and I'm grateful that everybody's working together.
I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, man, Bill is either one of the greatest possum players that I have ever seen, or this man is an imbecile, man. The man don't got nothing to say about nothing now. This ain't my first time seeing Bill, but he just perplexes the hell out of me. And Judge is just an imbecile. That's the bottom line, man. That is the bottom line, man. The man started off the trial saying, I made this as fair as I could for everybody. Let me tell you guys where I've been and what I've been doing. Just being me. And among that, I have been watching for some reason. Well, I won't even tell you some reason. Most of you, if not all of you, or just maybe some of you, I don't know, may be familiar. But this guy in the YSL trial, YSL Woody has taken, American justice system by storm. So now he's just a hit. And if YSL Woody is on the stand, let me get my water. I'm sorry. it's box office, and you gotta tune in. And I got drawn in to the YSL Woody fan parade too. So I've been watching the YSL trial because of that. Never watched, it consistently before. I've tuned in and tuned out like I do most trials. But in watching that, guys, one thing I found is the BS that Judge be doing, it's not. I gotta give him that credit, if I can call it that for lack of a better term. It's not a judge thing. There are sectors of, justices in our justice system that are just pro-prosecution. And you can just watch them and tell it, right? I'm not giving you guys any great news. I'm telling you the epiphany that I had. Because the judge in the YSL trial, he's just like that. And I'm going to tell you an occasion in this trial where Judge, he constantly proves it, but he inarguably proved it at one moment in this trial. But before I go into all that, man, let me slow the hell down, because I'm going to tell you guys something. I'm breathing better now. I haven't felt like I felt watching that video since the last time I was watching and making content in this sector of true crime. I literally had to remind myself to breathe. I was swamped with anxiety. My chest was tight because saying I have a low tolerance for BS is a major understatement. I cannot tolerate it. That's another reason I just been gone. I just can't be. It's just crazy to me because in my mind, adults are supposed to act like adults. Tupac said, God cursed me to see what life is supposed to be like. So it's difficult for me to watch foolishness. And that's what I seen for 13 minutes unless Ann was talking. And yes, y'all know how I feel about Ann, but it wasn't all because of that. Now, she's still sharp. She's still witty. She's still meticulous. She ain't missing a damn thing. And I couldn't see how she looked, but I'm guessing Ann is like those, descriptions in all areas of her life. So shout out to her. That's my little secret baby. But other than that, it was just a bunch of hogwash, and it was I'm talking about physically difficult. I was literally having anxiety. I had to remind myself, calm down, breathe, because it was just, I'm going to tell you the first thing that got me the hell out of here. Why in the hell I'm listening? Oh, no, we're not doing that. I'm listening. I had a notification go off, guys. I'm sorry. I'm listening to the judge and, Bill agreeing to the trial date and stuff. And I literally typed it in my notes. I might share a screenshot. I said, did they already decide on venue? I was confused as hell because they were already talking about setting the trial date. And I'm like, how can you? And Bill was, describing context, the same context he used earlier in his argument for why and when and where he thinks the trial should be. He was putting that down, and the judge was like, yo, I already laid it out. It's fair. It's what you want it, Bill, but it's fair for everybody. But in my mind, I'm just listening like, damn, because I have been gone. They must have already decided on venue. I was going to ask you guys and, ask for, lazy update because I didn't want to do the research myself. But damn, I mean, literally almost 2 seconds after I typed that note, my baby got up. She said, hold the hell up, man. Oh, yeah. If you watch this here, you just watched it. What is the first thing Ann said when she stood up? Boy, y'all lost your damn mind. First and foremost, let me be clear. Before we start talking about any of this that you calling fair that anybody with, impartial eyes can see ain't nothing but a bunch of partiality. Before we even address any of that, boy, I don't know what the hell you talking about. This is centered around this. You even put it on there that it's in Layton County. Negro, we ain't put our John Hancock nowhere about nothing like that. What the hell you talking about, Judge? Now, let me refer back to the YSL trial, guys, because he's going to try to do this a lot, even with this, structure of a schedule that he's given to everybody. This is important. Everything that Ann got up and said was important because right now in Georgia, what the prosecution is arguing is that a lot of times detectives said things to their star witness and their star witness didn't disavow what the detective said. Therefore, what the detective said must be true. And among all the other sneak BS that I just noticed in this hearing, that's what that whole little sketch for me, and I think Ann recognizes that. That's why she got up and on the record, it was very important and vital for her to do that, on the record addressed her objections to the schedule. It was for her to note her, what's the word I'm looking for?
Modifications
to the schedule. Like, hey man, let's consider this. You know what I mean? Let's make sure we put this in consideration too before we just say what's on black and white we all agree to like Bill did. Which brings me to another point. I'm gonna come back to that. But some of the things that Ann was bringing up, they affect Bill too. Obviously, Bill will get more information. Like the judge even said it. He said, I appreciate the fact that we're gonna have, be swamped with supplemental motions during this. I mean, that being the case, why didn't Bill object to any of those dates and times? You know what? I don't think, I ain't gonna tell you what I think, but the question that I wrote in my notes is, did you not object because you that much of an imbecile and you don't know what the hell going on? Or did you not object because you know the game is already fixed in your favor? We're gonna come back to Ann, so let me go ahead and touch on Judge. That was the first thing though. And let me know they had even put it in the documents, but they were talking like they had already decided venue and cleared that up. Shout out to you, baby. But then the judge said when he's laying out, you know, he breaks down the 3 months that he had. He said, and 2 weeks for sentencing. I said, what the fuck? I'm literally in my mind, I ain't right there in my notes. I'm like, what the fuck? He said it fluently. We're going, hey, this much time for this, this much time for this, this much time for this. And then he said 2 weeks for sentencing. I'm like, hold up, bro, what the fuck? And this is when I'm reminded, this isn't a judge thing. I don't want to act like all justices are like this, because I've watched some fair and impartial justice. I have. I've watched justices let people go home when they were guilty and they treat them like humans. They like, hey, I know, you know, we've seen those things. And then we've seen judges let people go home right after they were convicted of murdering somebody. So you got, you know, judges fall into different pockets. And of course, some of them fall into the pro-prosecution pocket. And I seen that in YSL, and that's how I know it's not a judge thing. But when he said that's, bro, you solidifying what we already know about you. You a what the fuck you mean? And then 2 weeks for sentencing. Let me clear this up for those of you. He did it, but before you think I'm off the rails, let me clear it up. How that should have been worded from an impartial justice would have been, and 2 weeks for sentencing, should that be necessary. That wasn't his instinctual explanation. His instinctual explanation was, we're going to need these 2 weeks for sentencing. All you got to do is listen. People will tell you who they are, where their hearts and their minds are. They will. And then they'll try to deny, but it's too late. You already exposed yourself. I mean, we already know it. You are locked in this box. You still hammering nails in, sir. You already got this man guilty and you supposed to be the impartial mediator? How the fuck? I would be asking you to be recused. I said that a long time ago with I don't know, bro. You pro-prosecution and imbecile. You might got a lot mixed in there. But I know you were dead ass wrong for anybody who don't think, because he immediately probably had a mental, like, what the fuck did I just do? I gave myself away. Mentally, he's thinking that. So he comes back and he say, obviously, no, Negro, we don't need that as an afterthought. We talking about this man life and freedom, American liberty. Why in the hell are those things afterthoughts to you? Like I say, listen to people, then unpack what you're seeing and hearing. It might just sound on the surface like he had a slip. No, that slip is this man's, if he's innocent, American freedom and life being an afterthought to the man who's supposed to be an impartial mediator. Y'all done lost y'all damn mind, man. Y'all done lost y'all damn mind. Now, this is what I'll say going back to this whole video for me, what I got out of it. Ann is the star of the show. I mean, obviously God is. God has blessed her with her talents and ability to hone them. But Ann is the star of the show. I don't know if everybody else got this. But me, I probably wouldn't have gotten it if I hadn't watched the YSL trial and I constantly watch these people try. I forget, is it admission by omittance? That's a legal term. The prosecution in the YSL trial is bringing this up like 30 times an hour. Hey, the detective said this. He didn't refute it, so it's true. And sometimes the judge, go watch I wish I had the clips to show you guys. Sometimes the judge is saying, okay, you're right. And sometimes the judge is saying, no, it's not that. She definitely had to object right now and on the record. So later on, they can't come back and try to charge a prosecution her and say, well, Ann, we had this whole proceeding where these dates were on the table and you didn't object at all then. So why are you doing it now? It was an unspoken agreement, Ann. And I'm telling you guys, I want to reiterate this just in case you're not aware. You may be smarter than me. There's a legal precedent for that shit argument. That everything you say or everything you present to me, I have to disavow. Otherwise, I'm affirming. So that's what I got out of this hearing. So that was Ann's thing. She caught that. And the other side is that the judge and the prosecution are still just trying to be slick. And everything is pro-guilty. And that's not fair. That's not impartial, and that's not American justice. There's a missing 13-year-old guy, man. He's look this up. Just Google some keywords if your heart leads you to. He's a son of a former NFL player or something. He's missing right now. A lot of missing people, but this one stuck out, man. He's a little black kid, man. So y'all keep him and his family in prayers. If you heard of it, drop some names and stuff, links in the comments. Innocent until, man. Y'all be safe.
This is a 3-month trial. So I was calculating 2 weeks to set the jury, then 8 weeks of trial, and then 2 weeks for mitigation and sentencing. And I mean, that's a guess, but I think it's enough time for all of those things to take care of. And obviously, the last 2 weeks would only be if Mr. Kohberger was convicted.
He convinced like hell that man guilty, ain't he? I forgot to tell y'all one more thing I learned from the YSL trial. As far as scheduling goes, you can't believe anything these judges say. They'll change any date they want to benefit them or the prosecution. And they damn sure change any date legalities force them to. As far as Bryan being guilty. Seems like to me the only way you can know that for sure is if you did it with him or set him up. Y'all think Judge got something he need to tell us?
That brings me to the last point I wanted to talk about.
It's months later and y'all still full of shit.